Hey guys, welcome to Movement Monday. We're back a couple of weeks away. Had a great time with the family, ate lots of bread, ate lots of ate lots of chocolate and had lots of wine and gin and beer. So I feel refreshed, I feel ready to go again for the new year. Okay, we're going down to that important time now, going in towards Christmas. This is the time where really we need to start buckling down more, because when it gets to that Christmas period, obviously, that's when we want to enjoy ourselves. Okay, so these next couple of weeks, as the nights get darker, okay, the temptation to have more starch and to eat less healthy starts kicking in. So this is the real hard work now. This is where we're going to really kick in. Okay, Movement Monday today, we're going to start working through the split squat. Okay, we're going to start working with unilateral movement. Unilateral means single, obviously. Bilateral is double, so it's bi, which is 2. Unilateral, which is 1. Okay, so unilateral is one leg training, which is very, very important. You want to make sure that probably, I don't know, 50% of your time is spent with your accessory work on single limb work, just to make sure that the balance is coming in and getting involved. So I always try to make sure that when I'm doing accessories for the lower body, that I always split it between doing sort of squatting and lunging and hinging. Okay, those 3 movements are important for the lower body, and you want to make sure they're all in balance. Okay, to make sure that your lower body musculature and your structure is balanced down there. Okay, so the split squat is basically a sort of a lunge. It should be really the introduction to the lunge for most people. When you get a new athlete in, if you're a personal trainer, or if you go to a class, okay, environment, and you train there or you train yourself, if you're coming into it pretty new or haven't trained for a while, rather than going straight into lunges, which is a very dynamic movement and actually requires quite a bit of coordination and mobility, the split squat is a good way to start that off. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to the split squat, the rear foot elevated split squat, or the Bulgarian split squat is being called as well, on the front foot elevated split squat. Get my words out. Those 3 movements should be the progressions that you work through, and then once you're happy with those, then you can start bringing a bit more dynamic movement in there, like a lunge, forward, backward, sideways, whatever lunge variation you want to do. So, let me pop you down here, guys, okay? So plain and simply, the split squat, the way you should be looking at it, okay guys, just like with the lunge, okay? You want to make sure that your front foot goes out, back foot stays behind. I'm going to put this down a little bit so you can see my feet a bit more, because that will actually help with that. Okay, so the standard split squat, all you want to make sure, guys, upright position, you're keeping your body nice and straight, you looking forward, chest up nice and proud. The front foot goes out in front and the back foot goes out behind. So as you can see, if you're used to something like a lunge, this is the motion you go through anyway. When you're lunging, you're putting that load through. What happens is that sheer load going into that front knee normally causes injuries or problems or gets people moving in funky positions. The great thing about split squat, it keeps you upright, keeps you stable. You load through that heel, okay? Back foot goes out behind, and that should go down in a 90-degree angle and then come back up again. Okay, if you've got mobility issues in the hip, obviously the couch stretch that we do way back in the first Movement Monday that we ever did will help you get that mobility back in that position and hopefully get you to be able to get down into that low position. If you can't and you're just in this zone, then that's fine, okay, but try and work your way to get that back knee down to the floor and sitting on that heel, okay, loading that heel all the way up, all the way down. That's going to be nice and intense. You'll do so many reps per leg, so let's say for example 10 on one leg and then 10 on the other, and that's one set, and then you go again and again. To progress that, okay, to start with, you could just throw in a weight, okay, that's always a good way to progress the movement. Once you're used to doing it body weights and you're doing it correctly, just adding a bit of weight in there intensifies that movement that little bit more. So again, sitting in that right position, down we go, onto that heel, back up to the top, okay? So you can either hold it in a goblet position or 2 dumbbells down by the side. The same thing applies, okay? The thing you want to make sure is that that knee is tracking over that foot, okay, nice and straight. It's not going beyond the foot, so you're not leaning too far forward, okay? It's just sitting down nicely into it, okay? And it's not going side to side, okay? Because that's where the injuries will occur, and that's why the split squat is that better variation. So to progress it, what you can do is you can add a rear foot elevation, okay? So we're going to use a plate to start with because it's a little less intense. Eventually you can start working your way up to a workbench or something as well that's a bit higher, or using something like rings and TRXs, which add that instability, okay? That's a further progression from here. But I'd still always start with just off a plate or a, something low that you can start with. Back foot on there, front foot out. Again, it's exactly the same setup really, All that changes is because that rear foot is elevated, it requires that bit more mobility in that hip again, so it's a great way of progressing that, and it loads that front quad nicely a little bit more, okay? So as you start progressing that up, I would start by progressing the movement up a little bit. So starting, as I say, from a plate up to about step. So, I don't know, you're talking about, I don't know, 12 inches or so to build up to. It's nothing massive, but it will make a huge difference in terms of how much load goes into that front leg. So that's the important thing from there. The next step from there then is a front foot elevated, okay? And again, this requires a lot of hip mobility to allow you to get to that position from there. But this one again, because you're on that front leg and it's that little bit higher, you're driving through that leg a bit more, okay? Loading up to that top position. Again, progress it by adding weight, but that is a good way of ensuring that the mobility is there within that movement so that you can then build up to something like a lunge, okay? So it's important to remember, though the lunge is a great exercise, it still has its potentials of injury, okay? People always look at things like the snatch and the clean and the deadlift as the troublesome sort of exercises, and they are, because people generally can't, you know, work their posterior chains well enough. They're not strong enough in the posterior chain. They spent a long time sitting down and in the wrong position, so it takes a little bit of time to teach you that correct positioning. But the lunge actually you will find can cause just as many injuries if not done properly. So the split squat just gives you that opportunity to practice those positions and strengthen those muscles and work in a unilateral sort of area, okay, which is, again, as I say, massively important. You should spend at least a third of your time on your lower body exercises working single leg work, okay? So that is something to go by as well if you're doing your programming, to give you a little insight on there. Okay guys, hope you found that useful. Any movements or anything you want me to go through, obviously just hit me up on the message or in the comments. I'm happy to go through any movement you want me to. The goal here is to try and get as much out as I can for you guys, so just try and make sure that if you've got anything you want to ask me, just throw it at me either by email, message, or in person if you see me here in the centre. Okay guys, just be awesome, have a great week guys, I'll see you later.